Hi, I'm Kelly with Blue Water Photo, and today we're going to take a look at the new housing from Nauticam for the Sony A7. Before we delve into the housing, let's look a little bit at the Sony A7 camera. People are really excited about this camera because it is the first full 35mm frame sensor for a mirrorless smaller camera. It's pretty exciting. It packs a big punch of full sensor size in a very small camera body, so you're going to get the best of both worlds that people want these days, with small size, easy to travel with, but large sensor, really great image quality. There are actually 3 versions of the Sony A7 available. There's the original A7, which is a 24 megapixel camera. There's the A7R, which has 36 megapixels, and then there's the A7S, which is really designed for low light performance video, which only has 12 megapixels. So with the lower resolution pixel count, you're actually getting really large pixels that can absorb a lot of light. The nice thing is, Sony kept all these cameras very similar. All 3 cameras fit into the same housing from Nauticam, so you don't have to worry if you decide to get a different body or think about having to get multiple housings. One downside to the Sony cameras at the moment is that there's not a very good lens selection. There's only a couple lenses out from Sony, and only 1 or 2 really that you're going to want to use underwater. No great real wide angle lenses and no macro lenses available yet. But I'm sure they'll be coming, and there are a few other options when using it underwater that might make the system work great for you. Let's go ahead and look at the Nauticam housing. What you'll notice first is it's about the size of your standard mirrorless housing, a little bit bigger, and Nauticam has taken it just like the EM1 and built in the molded grips like you get with a DSLR housing, so it's really easy to control. It's kind of like a mini DSLR housing in that it's got the same features like the shutter lever up here, the really nice port release, as well as their locking tabs for the housing lock that you see in all your DSLR housings, in addition to these molded grips. All the buttons, of course, are placed very well so that you can easily reach them to control everything. So we've got shutter, we've got control dials for your aperture and shutter speed, you've got your video record lever, as well as your autofocus manual AEL button. There's a nice pad on the back that we've seen before in their DSLR housings for controlling, works really well. The vacuum system from Nauticam is included standard, so the electronics are already in the housing. The bulkhead, of course, is an accessory purchase. The Sony A7 does not have a built-in flash. It doesn't come with any flash. So for now, sync cords are the only way to attach a flash with these guys, and Nauticam does include the bulkhead and hot shoe attachment piece, so you don't have to buy that. You'll notice there's also fiber optic attachments on the housing. Nauticam is planning to make one of their optical triggers, a little smaller trigger that'll fit with the A7, and then you would be able to use fiber optic cables. The housing is all machined aluminum. It's depth rated to 100 meters, really high quality, great ergonomics based on how everything is placed and how well everything works. They've got the newer style rubberized zoom control here, which is really easy to use. It comes standard with 2 ball mounts. Let's take a look inside. We said opening the housing is easy. Simply push in the 2 red tabs and then open these. You can see that everything is designed nicely. They've got all their levers. One downside, and this isn't Nauticam, this is kind of on Sony, is they did not include a very basic viewfinder to LCD switch so that you could switch between them easily or turn off the auto. So Nauticam has done their best to try and create a little system for the viewfinder that blocks it when you want the LCD and reflects back so that it looks like there's no light coming through. That way it opens the LCD, and then when you want the viewfinder on, it's out of the way so it comes through and you'll get the image. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that great. I found when I tested the camera I had to go into the menu and just turn the viewfinder switch to either LCD or viewfinder depending on what I wanted, and not try and switch between the two. Minor thing, not really a huge issue, but unfortunately there's no great way around that in the underwater housing. The housing does include a second bulkhead, so you can attach the vacuum system without using one of the offsets. It's got the ability to put an external viewfinder on, and what's nice is they built it in like the DSLR housings, so you don't have to buy a whole second acrylic window like you do with some of the mirrorless housings. Simply remove this, put the external viewfinder in, and you're good to go. Nauticam made their new locking camera tray with this housing. Really easy to use, slides out just like all their trays, and then it locks in, snaps into place really securely so that you know you're good to go. I mentioned the bulkhead attachment already. Nice large O-ring, really good secure locking ports for the housing. All in all, it's an excellent build, great housing. I found it very easy to use when I was testing it. The only slight problem I had was that I like to rest my thumb right here. I found that I started video a couple times accidentally, so you want to train yourself to rest your thumb below or just to hold the handle securely. That way you don't do that. But it was very comfortable in my hands, and I don't have the biggest hands, which is great. The one downside I mentioned with the Sony is that the lens selection is fairly minimal. What Nauticam has done to help offset this so that this housing is more appealing for other people and the whole system works really well is they've created port adapters that allow you to use a couple different lens options. For example, if you've been shooting for a while and maybe you have a couple old Nikonos lenses laying around, they have a port adapter that goes on here and allows you to attach your old Nikonos lenses. So that 15mm fisheye works really great with this system, and you can see exactly what you're shooting through the bright LCD. In addition, there are some lens adapters out there like the Metabones adapters that allow you to put Canon or Nikon DSLR lenses onto your Sony camera. And Nauticam has created a port adapter so that you can then use that lens setup with one of the DSLR ports and take the whole thing underwater. So that would perhaps allow you to use like the Canon 100mm macro and have a really excellent macro solution, as well as some of the wide-angle lenses like the 16-35. So overall, there's quite a lot that can be done with this Sony camera, even though they personally have not made a lot of great lenses. So that's the Nauticam housing for the Sony A7. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us or email us at sales@bluewaterphotostore.com, and thank you for watching.